As far as agenda is concerned, 5 topics we'll hit on, and there's actually a few more pieces here. Just general, what I'll call sales data hygiene and sales usage, some items around behavioral insights and role-based usage. We'll talk a little bit about portals, and we'll move into some scenarios around regulation and compliance where CRM can be extended, and as well around finance and integration. On to the topic of sales data hygiene. I guess for me, being of a political science and history background, I thought it might be a good idea to do a bit of the State of the Union on CRM. And I think overall the strategies that have been applied in CRM have had mixed results. And why in a lot of cases? Because I think by and large, this is an overly generalized statement, but people just assume CRM will work for them without any effort or forethought in terms of making the system their own. It's not a click-to-run software product like your Word or Excel or something more straightforward, or it's not a server in terms of infrastructure where it does what it does. It is a human resource management system at its core, and it's designed to manage very flexible processes and processes that can be different from place to place. So I think a lot of people who enter headstrong into a CRM implementation in general, they may have mixed results depending on how much level of effort they want to dedicate to this over the long term. And it's not easy being customer centric. It's not super easy to take the person to person relationships into a CRM system as one point. Overall, I think people tend to, maybe they don't know this or pay enough attention to it, but people tend to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So how can you use a system over a period of time to help surface some of that information and be proactive in your outreach and be educated in your conversations with people, as opposed to reactive, disjointed, or not having all of the appropriate information at the appropriate place and time. This alignment's not simple, and I think a lot of people want to start from the bottom up and then work towards the top here. But in this order, I think the order of importance goes something like this: people, processes, and then technology. The technology can do whatever you want it to do. But if you don't have the right people in place with somewhat of the right processes, the technology it's not going to provide any solid ROI for you. In the market, what's working today? I think there's a couple things we're seeing a lot of traction around, and a lot of people that are starting to do some interesting things around customer journeys, around account-based marketing. And now that they are able to capture a lot of this data, drawing out some actionable and intelligent analytics around that, and then building their strategy off of that. So in terms of data governance, I just want to throw this out here as an idea. The old cliche, garbage in, garbage out, I think firmly applies. But in terms of your CRM system, the security model is incredibly flexible. So how do you start to take it into account with your different lines of business, your different user types, and the different teams that those people are working on, whether they're inside, what I like to say is kind of the inside the 4 walls, or if they are out in the field on a regular basis performing a specific job function, or if they're a managerial level or senior executive who might just simply need to see some of the outputs and not necessarily all of the day-to-day operations of the system. So being intelligent in how you design that, how you lay that out for people so that they have the right tailored experience for them, so that it's not an arduous task for them to learn a monumental system, and they don't need a master's degree in information systems. They just need to pick it up, use it, do what they need to do. They need the software to do X so that they can do Y in their day. But from a design perspective, there needs to be some forethought laid out around the security model and who has access to what. Putting parameters around data inflow. So designing what pieces of information are required information and which ones are nice to have, the wants versus needs conversation. And I already mentioned here around the role-based information side of things, and where we're seeing the product go over time is towards a more AI approach with reminders, assistance, automation in terms of tasks, task notification and things of that sort. So if you do some of the foundational pieces right in terms of laying it out, you'll be quicker to get towards that goal of an automated and artificial intelligence world. Moving on to what I'll say is sales discipline. For me, sales discipline is the equivalent of hygiene. It's not an accident here. I didn't type follow up there 4 times. It's there for a reason. I just don't think enough people do it. And the system, this isn't an extension of CRM. This is kind of a core functionality of what a CRM system does. It helps you schedule your work. It helps you stay on top of things. And as the old cliche goes, plan your work and work your plan. But I just don't think enough people actually focus and dedicate to it enough. I found an interesting stat here recently that enough people, a majority of people give up after 2 attempts on any type of sales lead or piece of interaction that comes across their desk. And the fact of the matter is 80% of transactions take 5 or more touch points. So how many opportunities are being missed just on the human side of that? So how can you create some touch points along the way and some system notifications as you roll out CRM so that people are not dropping the ball perhaps prematurely and missing some opportunities? If you are so inclined and interested, there's a bit of an old book, but this is some of the foundations of CRM software design came out of this book by Peppers and Rogers in the early 90s. So that if you're a bit of a nerd and want to do some bedtime reading on the topics of CRM, feel free to look that book up. So how do we get data in, and how do we ensure that it's done in a clean and sanitized way? It needs to be done with some standards and some governance that I had mentioned earlier. But there are a number of different products out there on the market that you can look to layer in and integrate with your CRM, such as Dun & Bradstreet, Inside View, LinkedIn. They all accelerate the inflow of data into a CRM. Another thing that they'll do is help you find missing data and put more meat on the proverbial information bone, so to speak. Another thing I think a lot of people don't do is regular audits of their records in the system that they have and do the appropriate amount of purging. More isn't necessarily better. And I think there's a lot of very simple ways, and we can certainly show this at another time, as to even just how to flag records with insufficient data and then have someone go about adding the appropriate amount of sufficient data to that. So that covers the topic of sales data and sales data hygiene. Shifting over to behavioral insights, I'll hand it over to Brittany from our team, and she can talk more about that.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Brittany Lamaro. I'm an engagement manager with BTAC, and I work with our marketing department on utilizing our CRM to create, guess you'd call it like custom experiences for both our prospective and our existing customers. So we'll talk a little bit about the idea of segmentation and how that all falls into your marketing strategy. And the idea of integrating your marketing platform with CRM isn't a new concept, but the segmentation component is actually a brand new feature that's just been released within the last year within the Dynamics 365 for Marketing product. And at BTAC, we're really excited about it because it gives us an entirely new way to identify and connect and really understand customers. And so a lot of a common question that we get is the difference between segmentation and a marketing list. And segmentation would be the beginning or the trigger of your journey, your customer journey, and it's really just the collection of contacts that you have. And what separates a segment from a marketing list is being able to dive in and collect and create campaigns based on interactions and relationships. So I'll show you a couple examples that we have that we use internally. But traditionally with the marketing list, it would be something that is based on someone's profile. So example of that could be someone that lives in Calgary that works within a specific industry. Typically, you'd run a report, gather that information, and then create a marketing campaign based on that list, that static list of contacts that you have. A segment is sort of what we would call a live entity. So it's constantly updating with information that's put in CRM, and it can collect data based on who has visited a certain website, who has interacted with another contact that you have in your system, who works for a specific company, whose job title contains a specific word, or who's been clicking on your emails, attending events, that sort of thing. So internally, we find it really powerful because not everyone can be summarized based on their job title. So we all know that there's people that may have an interest in, let's say, digital marketing type content, but don't have a marketing specific job title. This allows us to actually run a report based on behavior. So if someone's been clicking on our digital marketing content or visiting landing pages or websites that have our digital marketing content on them, we can say, hey, this person is not your traditional marketer, but is actually quite interested in digital marketing content. Let's continue to nurture this content. And obviously they're looking into this for a reason. So it gives us the ability to identify new leads. Luke, if you want to pull up our segments, I will run through a couple of the different examples that we use.
Sure.
Okay, so these are a few of our segments that we currently use. The ones that I'll sort of draw into attention are Dynamics 365 updates, unsubscribes, and campaigns. So it allows us to track the people that have subscribed to our Dynamics 365 updates on subscription. So that's more of a static list. It allows us to track our unsubscribes, but then our Dynamics 365 campaign identifies people whose behavior has indicated that they may be interested in Dynamics. So that allows us to kind of include 3 different segments when we're creating a campaign and use that as a starting point. So within the Dynamics 365 campaign, like I said, it's tracking people who have been interacting with our content, clicking on specific links, and then also allows us to be GDPR compliant by including all of our unsubscribes in there as well. So when we're creating a campaign, we would include those 3 different segments rather than just one static marketing list. And then another popular way that this can be used is tracking like customer satisfaction surveys. So can create a segment based on all the way down to an answer that someone submitted on a form. So if you've given a satisfaction survey and someone's perhaps indicated a level of dissatisfaction, you can use that as a trigger on your campaign to hopefully improve their experience and re-engage them as a customer. So that's a really high level look at segments. Can be a topic that you can speak for hours about. So in the interest of time, I'll try to keep it at that. Do you want to switch back to the slide, Luke? So the other component that I want to talk about in terms of using CRM data to create a tailored experience would be what we call dynamic content. So if I was creating an email, I don't want that same content to appear for someone who's interested in Azure as maybe someone that's interested in marketing content. So it actually allows, if I'm creating an email, I can create that email and take specific blocks within that newsletter and tailor the content to be relevant to that specific user. So that would be pulling from all of your interactions and all of the information that's stored within CRM. And I can, without having to use any code at all, basically just decide that I want this person to now be getting I want to send this email at once. I don't want to have to create 5 different versions of the email, but I want people to see different things. And yeah, that's what we call dynamic content within the email editor. Next slide, Luke. So that's just an overview. If you're building that, you can also include someone's first name. So that's just what the graphic shows there. But if I wanted to actually show that green box a different message to different people, that can be customized as well. If you want to just flip over to the next slide. So this is something that every time we show it, it gets a good reaction in terms of like, wow, it's nice to see just a simple overview of all the interactions that I've had with one specific person. It's especially nice in the handoff between marketing and sales for marketing to be orchestrating campaigns and then sales to be able to just click on their customer and see all of the emails that they've been interacting with, the websites that they've been interacting with, their marketing form submissions, their subscription list interactions, and even goes down to their email open time. So I'm sure that's probably going to raise a couple eyebrows and make you maybe think twice about opening some emails that you're getting from companies. But the reality is that that information is being collected by everyone. But this platform just gives you a way to actually show it. So one really powerful feature is that if I'm sending an email out and I've identified that Luke opens his email at 7, that information is already being compiled, and it gives me the ability when I'm sending out that email to click optimize, send time, and then it will send that same email out to everyone at their optimized send time. So it might send to Luke at 7 a.m., but maybe it sends to me at 5 a.m. And then within the parameters that I specify for that email, whether it's a day or a week, it'll send at the best time for that contact to open their email in order to get the best, I guess, click through and open rate. So I find that to be a pretty cool feature. Another really cool way that AI is being integrated within the marketing platform is identifying people that may fit into a potential segment. So let's say if I'm using that Dynamics 365 list or segment that I've created, but perhaps I've overlooked a criteria that should be included in there, I can actually just click Boost Segment, and based on connections, relationships, interactions, and behavior, it'll actually use AI to identify some other members they think may be a good fit for that segment. So actually, Luke, if you'll switch back to CRM, I will just quickly go through that contact card and show the insights. Okay, so this is my contact card. So it gives you per contact a timeline of my interactions, including events, email opens, and then also gives a breakdown of just the pie chart below it. And then scrolling up, just a deeper dive into all of those interactions. So it'll even show you down to like the website visits, and then event interactions, all the events that I've attended, or the ones that I've registered and maybe canceled, or the ones that I've registered for but didn't actually attend. Marketing form interactions. So these are the landing pages that are created within Dynamics for Marketing itself. It'll display all of my submissions within there, my subscription list interactions, whether I've subscribed or unsubscribed to specific lists, and then my open times. So you can see that apparently Thursday at 1 p.m. is my optimized time, and that would be the time that probably the system would send me my emails to. So the last thing I'm going to run through is just the LinkedIn integration. So this is one powerful way that you can use your CRM in conjunction with LinkedIn and have the two complement each other. So as I'm sure everyone knows, Microsoft bought LinkedIn a couple years ago, and we're just starting to see the bigger picture and how the two go hand in hand. So within the Dynamics for Marketing platform, you can actually run campaigns and use LinkedIn interactions as a starting point in your campaign manager. So you can import and match leads from lead gen forms within LinkedIn. You can push segments that you have as a matched audience for LinkedIn ads. So all of the segments that are created, that can be pushed over into LinkedIn and have that same segment be the target for your LinkedIn ads. And then all of those leads resulting from your LinkedIn ads can be fed back into the marketing module. And then all of those lead gen form submissions collected back, and dashboards can be created and give you a good overview. So that integration is something we've seen get stronger and stronger, and I'm sure it's going to even become more seamless, but already it's pretty powerful to have LinkedIn integrated with your CRM from a marketing standpoint.
Excellent. Thanks, Brittany. So we've covered off the sales data, hygiene, and governance side of things, more on the behavioral based and marketing side. We did want to talk more around the marketing, the role-based approach to things, and just very simply, this is not a deeper dive topic by any stretch, but Microsoft in the last 5 years has really shifted away from the all-you-can-eat or front-to-back heavyweight platform and making things quite a bit more human-centered and role-based in their approach. So the rationale and the design principle with all of the Microsoft products in general is being tailored experiences based on your role and job function. So if you are the HR practitioner, you have an HR focused role and experience in Dynamics versus someone in marketing versus someone in sales versus someone in finance. And I think the benefit of that, the net benefit of that, of what we're seeing is it is enabling people to move beyond email as the outreach point and be more proactive versus being reactive. And I think that was illustrated in everything that Brittany had just shown us there in the previous couple pieces. Another way that we're seeing a lot of extensions of CRM is around portals. So providing a more tailored experience for whether that's individuals outside of your four walls of your company or inside the four walls. Portals provide a lot of flexibility there. So for a bit of a historical lesson, this is the lineage of how Microsoft has evolved on the portal side of things, a company called ADX Studio. Over time, were acquired by Microsoft, and now there is the Dynamics 365 portals and is forming into the Power App portals. So if you're looking for more information on any of the current portals pieces, you may want to look at Dynamics 365 portals for some information, and a lot of the branding and naming is switching over to Power App portals. But in short, it does serve the same function. So here's some ideas, and so you can wrap your head around potential use cases for portals, whether that's a customer support type of scenario. We see a lot of it in the dealer distributor types of scenarios, the membership management scenario where they're trying to create a community amongst their membership. And I think the driving rationale behind a lot of this is people, I found this in a recent report that 70% of people feel like they're a case number or a ticket versus an individual. So creating a more tailored and personalized experience via portals where I can log into a space and see everything that's relevant to me in terms of my past history, my orders, my work in progress, whatever that might entail. So just to get you thinking on this in terms of an idea of an extensibility scenario for Dynamics, there's a few more use cases and a few more use cases around customer self-service portals, partner portals, community portals. There's a number of different pieces there. But one couple things I just want to call out in terms of authentication and people actually gaining access to this portal. There's basically two approaches where you can set people up to access your portal, either through a business-to-business authentication scenario or a business-to-consumer. The B2C being that I can log in with my Gmail account, my Facebook, across any terms of authentication that I prefer. There's pros and cons of both. We'll not get into that right at the moment, but the overarching point here is that contact records are then created in the Microsoft Dynamics Common Data Service. So by someone authenticating into your portal, it creates a contact record. And as part of that, there's plenty of opportunities to align with some of the marketing-based digital content structuring and segmentation that we looked at a little bit earlier. Regulation and compliance. I just want to also underscore the fact that being it's a CRM, the C standing for customer, it doesn't necessarily need to stand for customer. I think there's a lot of other scenarios out there where we've worked with over the years, helicopters, livestock, inspections, equipment. There's a ton of extensibility here. So extract the C in the customer relationship management platform and insert the X, whatever that might be. And there's a number of different scenarios out there. If you search around, you can see property management is a common one. In the higher education space, there's a number of personalized student information scenarios, all of them built using the Microsoft Dynamics tool set. Where that's evolving to today is really around the Microsoft Power Platform product suite. So the components of Power Automate, the Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI being the three core components there. As I mentioned earlier, the portals are coming into this package, and as well as this virtual agent component where the Microsoft is developing some pieces with their product called the HoloLens. Integration to finance. All of this is all well and good, but until it hits a general ledger or a finance person becomes involved, they certainly want to put their stamp on things. So the Dynamics Business Central component of the CRM and finding ways to integrate this to your finance so that things can payments can be processed, vendors can be paid, sales quotations roll through and are automatically invoiced out of the finance package. Just wanted to pop a few of these up here for you as well as some additional ideas, because that's typically the path we'll see people extend their CRM and say, great, this is excellent, it's working for us, we've got our processes down, everyone is involved in using this here from a sales, service, marketing, operations point of view, but how do we link it up with finance? It tends to be the final piece or the missing piece of the puzzle. So there is a lot more integration capability there around the financial module than, say, maybe 5 to 10 years ago. Final thought to leave you with in terms of continuous improvement and DevOps, this concept of continually doing development and integrating with business requirements from the operations side. So what you see on this graphic here, the CI and the CD, CI standing for continuous improvement and CD standing for continuous development. So working in conjunction from a product enhancement point of view, perpetually gathering business requirements from the users on a day-to-day basis and feeding that back into the system so that it's perpetually evergreen and nothing is static. So I think we've traditionally seen people move on, from version to version, and then they wait 3 years, 5 years before they do anything again. And I think that kind of mindset may pose some challenges in terms of the people using your technology over time. You may find it becomes harder and harder to keep people using a user interface that looks like it was originally developed in 1996. So that's something you just want to look to find ways to build into your culture. Feedback is excellent, and gather as much feedback as you can and feed that back into your system so that your systems are well calibrated. Bonus content in terms of extending into Dynamics, utilizing some of the Azure services. Just want to pop this up here. This might be a little too technical in nature for anyone, but if you are interested, here's a couple of products on the Microsoft Azure product stack and some scenarios as to why you may want to look to utilize some of those functionalities on the Azure platform. Beyond that, I think that was about all we had here for today. So I'll leave you with a couple of resources here, a few video links on the YouTube channel, and some of the Microsoft Dynamics blog sites that are rich with content. So hopefully this was helpful. And if there's any questions that anyone has at any point, now's the time.